I am a pro strongman. I have won World's Strongest Man. I've won the Arnold 4 times, twice in America, twice in the UK. I have 8 professional international victories under my belt, and I am here to answer your most burning questions about being a professional strongman. Question number 1, we have Peyton asked, how many top-level strongmen are full-time strongmen without another job? I'm going to go out on a limb and say next to none, because whilst I could live my life entirely off strongman, I have a host of other things that I get stuck into. Personally, that decision for me is that I want to make more of an impact than just lifting weights. I could survive, but that would be short-lived as long as I'm good at strongman, and we really don't know how long that is. So I think the vast majority are business owners, they work in some capacity. Olivia, this is much along the same line. How do you make time for your wife and daughter with a busy training schedule? Well, the training actually isn't the busiest part. The training is really just a few hours a day. For me, it's the business that I run alongside. So I own Lift Heavy Be Klein clothing line. That link is in the description. I own Moose Coaching, where I write programs for people and use my education along with my experience to help people. That link is in the description as well. I run a physical therapy clinic, it's a kinesiology clinic close to physical therapy, as people in America would know it. Exercise is medicine, exercising people with injuries and chronic conditions. That's a physical location in my hometown. I also do virtual consults for people, or my staff do. I'll pop that link in the description as well. This is not to be a big plug. This is just to say that I do a whole lot of things. Then there's a whole investment side. And the answer to the question is with great challenge. I don't have a lot of free time, and the free time that I do have, I really struggle for that to be mentally free time. I think this is an area that I could improve on as a person, but thankfully I have a really understanding wife, and we're in this for the long haul, meaning that I am going to have to sprint for the next little while these things get set up and established. Once they are, I'll be able to pull back slightly, and I think I've managed to do that as of late, but it is difficult because I am a very competitive person. You have to be a professional strongman, but I take that level of competition over into my businesses as well, meaning that I want to do absolutely everything to get every little bit of success that we can get. And sometimes it's probably worthwhile taking a back seat. If you follow my socials, you probably get a gist of how busy I am. Instagram Mitchell Hooper, you guys probably know. Big Red says, realistically, how much further do you think some of the world records could go? Deadlift, log press, etc. I will give deadlift and log press. The deadlift right now is 501 kilos set by Hafthor Bjornsson. The world record log press is 229 or 230 kilos set by Iron Bibby. How much further can they go? I think we're earlier than we think in the discovery phase, but I think a lot of the advancements will come due to equipment improvements, not because of strength improvements. I'm going to say that the deadlift record, I'll put a timestamp on it because in 1,000 years, we don't know if there's going to be genetic mutations and stuff, but human beings as we know them now, I think 520 kilos, 525 kilos is probably possible. I think most people would think that Thor is capable of that. In a suit, peaks at his best. So I'm going to put that there. For the log press, that 230 is... Bibby's really the only person with a reasonable chance to beat it on the planet right now. I watched him do 230 live. I think he could go 235. Let's call that in 20 years, between 245 and 250 is where I think the log press will sit. All right, the inevitable question, the controversial, what and how much PEDs do pro strongman actually take? I know this is the number one question, and I appreciate that this was asked respectfully, which is why I'm going to address it. There are so many things. First of all, it's a personal decision. Whether people just decide to take it or not, it's totally up to them, and I don't hold a lot of judgment. My personal feeling in this area is that societally, we seem to really accept binge drinking and unhealthy behaviors in some categories, and in other categories, it's a complete taboo. Now, with it being a complete taboo, you have to realize that just in the same breath as most strongmen have a job of some sort, that job will be impacted negatively by any sort of disclosure of illegal supplement use, and frankly, it's against the law in most places. So why would you go on video start talking about how you're breaking the law? It wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. What I will say is those who do choose to take it, it is substantially less than you would think, and I would hazard the guess that at the pro level there's less going on than at the elite amateur level, but it definitely comes with negative health consequences, and it's something that you would have to make a very considered personal decision around, and it's not something that you should start flippantly just because you want to look good or lift a bit more weight. It should be, maybe you plan for this to be your full-time job and you have reason to believe that it will be. Maybe you're thinking that it's a lifetime goal for you to accomplish 500-pound deadlift, and you don't care what gets in the way, and you're willing to die for it. Okay, fine. But outside of that, you should probably chill out. Panatov.m. Have you ever thought of stopping because of health risks? I actually haven't. I haven't thought of stopping yet. I've considered when do I stop because of health risks, but I've been extremely fortunate, knock on wood, that I haven't had anything significant happen to my health that has made me feel like I should take a back seat. I think of Gavin Bilton, and he had a heart attack on the stage. If that were to happen to me right now, that would probably be my last day of competing. Not because I would need it to be, but because I would see the negative effects that it would put on my family and the people around me. And they're along for the ride, but they didn't choose to be. And they've been along for an incredible ride so far, but they don't deserve to go along for the ride of seeing me in bad health. And as my daughter gets older, that only becomes more and more true. Chelsea McDonald. The supplements and the food are the two questions that always come up. Chelsea says, how many times does your wife grocery shop a week? Sincerely, a strongman wife. Well, we can get a professional answer. I do have to disclose that we're about to see a two-time winner, two-time consecutive defending title holder of MILF of the Week. The question at hand is, how many times a week do you grocery shop?
I get bits and pieces every day, but probably like
every day.
A good grocery shop like twice.
Twice a week?
Yeah.
Can I be honest with you? I read this question and I thought more than once a week is bad planning.
It's just you have to have fresh stuff, so you want to have like little bits, but like an actual grocery shop, I'd say twice a week.
Yeah.
There you go.
Hi.
Is that funny?
Every day is apparently the answer. Oh. Get a job. She's on maternity leave. She is the smart one in the relationship, just so you guys are aware. She's a veterinarian. Also, side note, if you haven't seen Ali G misunderstanding veteran and veterinarian, look up Ali G veterinarian, and it could be one of the best videos on the internet for low intellect people like myself. Next question. Ray's Strength says, what's the best method for tying your shoes without getting winded? Well, first, you're going to want to decrease your belly circumference. Second, you're going to want to decrease your thigh circumference. And third, if you're me, if you go to a meet and greet, look at my feet. And my shoes will not be tied. The only time I tie my shoes is if I'm going to a formal event, which is almost never, or if I'm in a competition or a max lift. Otherwise, slides and untied shoes exclusively. So, yeah. Nathaniel Offer says, are there any signs before you get injured, like before you tear a bicep off the bone? 100%. Let's just stick this conversation to tendinous injuries. It goes through a process by which it tears. Now, you can have just acute, never saw it coming ruptures, but for the most part, what's going to happen is you're going to start with a level of tendinitis, meaning that you're going to feel some type of soreness below the belly of the muscle. That is where, of course, the tendon exists. It's going to progress from you feel it when you're doing movement to you feel it when you're doing movement and just after. It's then going to progress that you feel it during the whole day. Then it progresses to a rupture. The reason is if you get chronic inflammation, eventually macrophages come in, and macrophages' job is to destroy the tissue because your body has indicated that it has a significant problem there. That means that it's going to eat away at the tendon. Eventually, that tendon is going to pop right off and you are left with no tendon. Fun fact, every tendon is surrounded by a sheet of fascia. The fascial sheath. And that, if you tear the tendon but not the sheath, the tendon will actually regrow through the sheath. So you can tear your ACL, not get surgery, and still have that repair itself. I learned that not long ago. Very, very cool. All right, food question. People love food questions. How many calories do you intake per day and how many grams of protein do you get? I work with Stan Efferding. I eat about 5,000 to 5,500 calories a day. My protein usually sits around 300 grams. If I'm losing weight, obviously less calories, more protein. If I'm gaining weight, believe it or not, more calories and less protein, because carbohydrates are protein sparing. If you eat high amounts of carbohydrates, you need less protein to retain your muscles. Strongman Mass 73. What is the best training style for strongman? The best training style for strongman is get strong. Really, if you lift heavy weight, you're going to be able to lift heavy weight. That's the cycle. Now, if you want a little bit more guidance, check out that link I told you about before to my coaching. Now, in the coaching, the PDFs come with 12 weeks of education as well. So you're not just getting a thrown at you piece of information for you to follow along. You're going to get information on why it's structured that way, and it's designed to make you smarter for the long run and help you with your training forever. Next question, Sam Drusett says, when did you realize that you are exceptionally strong? You know, it's funny. I think you never really think of yourself as that special, and I definitely don't. So it took a really long time. I was even winning state shows and local shows, and I didn't really think all that much of it. I got invited to World's Strongest Man, and then when I came 8th at Worlds, and I beat some pretty big names, some pretty high-level people, even my own self-talk was like, I'm really good at those events. And then I hit a podium, and my goal was to hit the podium, average 3rd place in the next 2 shows. And in the next 2 shows, I came 2nd and 2nd. And those were also sort of lighter and faster moving, and that was my strength at the time. And then I went to the Shaw Classic, and that was a very, very heavy show. And I managed to do quite well in that, and I came 3rd in that one. And that was probably the time that I started to think, like, maybe I am actually really strong, which might sound silly for you guys to hear, but I had made World's Strongest Man. I had made the World's Strongest Man finals. I had podiumed at 2 shows. Only when I podiumed the next show did I think, like, maybe I actually am that strong. And it took a while to convince myself. I gained a huge amount of confidence from my Arnold victory this year, which was my 2nd consecutive Arnold. I've never lost at the Arnold, and I've won 4 Arnolds overall, 2 of them in the UK. That's when I really started to believe, okay, maybe I could do something special in the sport, and maybe I could really make some waves. M. Hudson says, how do you work back into deadlifting as you recovered from a lower back injury? Great question. Of course, it depends on the injury, and this should not be taken as any specific advice, but recovering from a lower back injury is more symptom-based than anything else. What makes it sore? Don't do that. If you feel like you're in danger, don't do that. Start low, build slow, and work a lot on retraining your core mechanics. I have done a full YouTube video. If you guys just click in the search bar, Mitchell Hooper core bracing, I go through about a 20-minute, 15-minute progression on what you need to be doing for effective core bracing. And that is not only going to help you with your low back rehab, but it's going to protect your low back over the long run when you do get back to those maximal weights. Next question, Jacob says, my powerlifting PRs have stalled. What are 3 ways to get past a plateau? Well, really, any plateau comes because there's some level of neural fatigue. So you need to look at your recovery, which I say there's 3 things for recovery. 1 is going to be your sleep, 2 is your life stress, and 3 is your nutrition. Get those 3 on track. Then take a deload and remove that stimulus that's burning you out. So take a week, drop your loads by 50%, drop your sets by 50%, your loads by 30%. Do that for a week or 2 weeks. Get your recovery back, then you will start slightly lower than where you finished, and then you should have a really good place to be able to build past where you finished. Most of the time, people are plateauing because they don't cycle their training. They don't have any sort of deloads occurring. If this is you, all of my programs are 12 weeks and they all include a deload. It would be very worthwhile for you to go through that process and learn what that feels like to push hard, pull back, push hard again, and you will be stunned at the results that you get. Nye Oakley says, your strength is obviously mind-blowing. Does it ever surprise you? Yes, it does. Now, it does in an emotional sense. It has never surprised me in a logical sense. I've always known what I'm capable of, and I know that I can do it, but something about emotionally getting around that and understanding that internally, that's a big struggle for me. And I think that's why before the big lift, I start talking to myself and I take a few deep breaths. I start saying like, you are the strongest man in the world. You are the number one strongman in the world. You can do this. And I only tell myself I can do it if I know that I can do it. The best example at Worlds this year, I broke the keg toss world record. After one of the throws, I thought that was probably it. I thought I was probably out. I think this was 2 before the world record. It went 1 before the world record, and I got up there. I grabbed the keg. I looked up. I started talking to myself. I go, "You've done that. You could do that." And I've never thrown a keg over a bar before, but I was throwing it against a tree, and I was just sort of roughing it. Saying like, you know what? That is lower than what I've thrown in training. I can do that. So yes, my strength surprises me in an emotional sense all the time. Last question. I really like this one. Trillawilla says, what is something you wish people knew about being a strongman? I'll make this more personal than anything. I wish people just recognize me as a normal human being trying to do their best more often. I get criticisms online for random stuff and in competition and how you behave, and it's a lot to be thrust into, and we don't have the media training of the NFL and the NBA, and for me particularly, I've got thrust in the spotlight very, very quickly, and I just see myself as a pretty normal dude who happens to be extremely lucky with strongmen, and I love business, so I've done everything I can to take advantage of that and hopefully leave the sport in a better place. But I hope that people can just at some point get around that, there's nothing that's unique or nefarious or something going on about strongmen. We're just normal guys. I'm just a normal guy who really likes to lift weights and is pretty competitive and have found an incredible outlet for my athletic skill to be able to continue into adulthood, which most people don't say, or most people aren't capable of saying. The number one thing that strongman has given me is a place for my family to get together and have something to bond over. With that being said, those are your most burning questions answered. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, go ahead, click the link that we're popping right up there and go ahead and check that one out. Thank you very much for your questions, guys. If you want to know more, pop those questions in the comments. If this goes well, if you guys like it, I'm more than happy to do a part 3. And I'm thinking about doing a part 1 of Ask a Strongman's Wife, your most burning questions. If you'd like to see that, leave a comment below. If you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and check that out. Thank you very much for watching, guys. As per always, lift heavy, be kind, buy your merch. My baby is hungry. My wife is on maternity leave. We got to pay for our lives. And by we, I mean you. Please get merch. We are donating back. We have a very special partnership with the donations that we're going to be announcing very soon. Lift heavy, be kind. We'll catch you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.